Hey folks, Robbie Payne with Chroma Unboxed, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Lenovo Smart Display. Now this is the first smart display that's shipping. There are others coming from Sony and JBL and maybe Google itself at some point, but this is Lenovo's stab at it, and it's going to be the first one to market. If you remember back in January at CES, we got to spend a little bit of time looking at this, and I say looking at, not messing with, because back at CES this thing was so early in production we didn't actually get to even mess with it. We were taken into a room and we were shown it and demoed it. So we hadn't actually had a chance to actually play with the device yet, and so Lenovo sent one over. We've got to spend a little bit of time with it, and I want to talk to you guys about specifically why I think that adding a screen to the Google Home family of products makes a big difference, and talk about whether or not this is actually worth the extra money. All right, let's start with hardware real quick, and there's not a lot to talk about here. It's different than a smart speaker for obvious reason. It's got a big screen on it, and the screen looks great. We're gonna talk about all the things you can do with the screen here in just a second, but overall, the viewing angles, even at the angle I'm sitting at, when I'm looking at this device right now, viewing angles look great, the colors look great, so when it's sitting on your shelf or in the kitchen or something like that, the screen just looks really good. It's great for consuming content, for navigating all the stuff, and so the screen is a great thing. The overall build is plastic, and that's fine. It's a nice white plastic. It kind of feels a little googly. The back part is covered in this nice bamboo, and it's got this nice curve that probably gives some room for the speakers there in the one end. And overall, it's just a nicely put together package. And of the other smart displays that we've seen, I haven't got my hands on any of them just yet, but of the other ones we've seen, I like the look of this one probably the best, and it just looks really nice on a shelf and sitting anywhere. And additionally, on the hardware end, you have a hard volume rocker on this one. So with other Google Homes, you have either slides or you tap, that kind of stuff. This one actually has a hard volume button, but you can access it on the screen as well. But what Google has done, especially in light of all the kind of privacy things around big tech companies that I really like here, is they've added a slider that allows you to mute the speaker or mute the microphone, similar to what you get on the other one. So when you do that, you hear
"The mic is muted,"
which is nice. So you know Google's not listening at that point. But this one has a camera on it as well for duo video calls and hopefully other video calls down the road as this thing expands. And you can flip that switch, and right on screen you see camera is off, and it physically is covering the camera. You can see the mechanism moving in there, so you know if you want to, you can close off the mic and close off the camera, full privacy. So that's a nice addition that Lenovo has put in there, and from what we understand, all smart displays will have that functionality. But really, that's about it. I mean, it's a nice display, a couple hardware buttons, and a pretty good sounding speaker. So yeah, let's talk about the biggest difference in this one and this one. Like I said, it's the screen. And so let's talk about all the things you can do with this screen. First off, it's a really great digital picture frame. So sitting on the desk, sitting on a table, sitting in your kitchen, whatever, you can set that ambient display to show just a clock face if you want to, and there's a few choices in there, and everything is controlled with the Google Home app, just like any other Google Home. But you can also set your Google Photos, and if you're not using Google Photos, you should. So you could set albums to show in here. You can set just great photos. So it's a lot like setting up a Chromecast and the ambient display there. There's different things you can choose. You can do a mix of them. Right now I'm just showing you some general photos just so you can kind of see the fact that it shows weather and time. But as I had it and I was using it personally, I put my personal photos on there and just chose some folders that I had and some albums that I had created. And the cool part about this is I don't usually display photos digitally anywhere. Sometimes I put them on Chromecast, but honestly they don't show up very often, or I put other artwork because some of the stuff fascinates me. But with this, having those personal photos up, it was really cool because we take tons of photos, and this allows you now to start seeing and reliving some of those things that I'd just forgotten. Pictures where my kids were really small, and just as a digital photo frame just by itself, if I said, hey, it's a Google Home speaker and a digital photo frame, that's already a benefit. That's already a plus. But this display does way more than that. So on here, you're always going to get your time and your weather, which is nice. Glance over, you can see how warm it is outside, you can see what time it is really quick. But at the minute you touch the screen, you're going to go to what Google calls the home state. And so this is a place where you're going to get cards served up over time, similar to what you would see in the Google feed, or if some of you remember Google Now, it's just going to smartly put some of this stuff up here. So for your morning, some stuff here, some videos on YouTube, it's serving up because of things I've watched, just like it would do in the app. Google Play Music, here's an album I was playing just this morning, so let's put that up here. Calendar events will show up here. But let me show you that stuff's nice, and the animations are great, and there's some basic ways you navigate, and we'll talk about that in a second. But that stuff's all fine and good, but getting into a bunch of stuff that you have to sit there and touch it with, that's not what this thing's about. It's about delivering that Google Assistant, Google Home experience, while also giving you a bit of visual context. I'm going to show you why that's important. Now, I can touch the weather and get the same thing, but since we're talking to Google, let's talk to Google. Hey, Google, what's the weather today? And you'll see
today
right at the
in
top,
Elizabethtown, it'll be partly cloudy with a forecasted high of 81 and a low of 61. Right now, it's 76 and sunny.
So if you paid attention as I spoke, you can actually see, just like on your phone, you can see what you're saying in here. So you know right off the bat if it caught what you're saying or if it's just completely missed the boat, which is nice. You don't get that on just a speaker. But now, if I asked that question, you heard what the response was. It would be the exact same here. But now I get this, I had this really nice display.
Today in Elizabethtown, it'll be partly.
We're going to turn Google down. So even without being able to really hear Google at this point, I get this really nice visual display. I get an hourly thing. I can scroll through here. You see just a lot of stuff, high, low, all the stuff that you can visually take in and see whether you heard Google or not. Because I don't know about you, there's sometimes I ask Google something and then I turn my attention somewhere and then I didn't even hear what the answer was. So now I got to ask it again. This way you get that visual representation up here. Some of the cool software stuff that we have is stuff like YouTube or getting a recipe, and I'm going to show you a couple of those things. We're not going to get too deep into all this stuff because there are some bugs here, and you're going to see that in other reviews. Honestly, it's the first smart display, so we're going to see some limitations in the software for a little bit. Maybe 6 months down the road, I would say developers will start thinking, hey, I can, with my Google Assistant thing that I've already built, this action I've already made, I can put a visual element with it too now, and they'll start thinking through those things as time goes on. But you got to remember, this is early days, but there's some really cool stuff you could do with this. So from here, if I want to, is there anything that we can watch? Sure, there we go. Lean Launcher, I don't even know what this is. Click it, boom, YouTube loads up, video starts playing. And again, with a great screen, this is a great thing to use to consume some content. And it works just like you'd expect. Touch it, you get pause, you can swipe up and get to other videos, that kind of stuff. So the stuff you would normally expect from YouTube, and we can swipe away and get back to our home state. But additionally, like I'm a YouTube TV subscriber, so the other day the kids were looking at this and playing with it, and they wanted to watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and I was watching something on the TV. So I said, hey Google, play Mickey Mouse Clubhouse from YouTube TV.
All right, playing Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on YouTube TV.
And ta-da, you've got YouTube TV loading up. And it'll probably start in the last episode they watched. And I recorded on YouTube TV, boom, it's right there. And it looks great, plays back really well. So for media consumption, it's really good. But here's probably one of the coolest things software-wise that this thing can do right now, and hopefully help you get your head around how this can be more beneficial. So say we want to make some low-carb brownies. Hey Google, show me a recipe for low-carb brownies.
Okay, here are some recipes.
Okay, and you get a nice visual. Instead of it reading to you, again, imagine a speaker saying, flourless brownies, low-carb double chocolate walnut. Like, I don't know what any of those even look like. I have no visual reference for them, but now this is taking and distilling a website into something that you can kind of consume really quickly. So I go, Hannah's Fabulous, that sounds great. So we'll click that one, and boom, you get this, basically a web view here, okay? But recipes, a lot of times, and if you ever look at cooking blogs, you know this is true, they're going to tell you a story about the recipe, so that you got to look at some ads first. But eventually you get down here, and they've created, I think, a standard recipe card kind of thing that embeds itself in here. And so what Google can do is just yank that thing right out, and lays you out this perfect step-by-step thing in order to get you through your recipe. And it's going to tell you when you're ready, and if you just reach up, next ingredient, boom, next ingredient, okay? And so you can just go right through these, or you can talk to it if you want to, if your hands are dirty. It's listening, it's ready, hey G, next ingredient, okay? So we're gonna skip to the instructions, and this is where it gets really beneficial. When you're in there cooking, you got crap all over your hands, and you've just made a mess of everything, you don't need to pick up anything at this point. You've got this right here, and you can just tell it next step. But imagine a step takes you 2 or 3 minutes to get done. Well, you might have forgotten what it said to do, and then you're confused as to what to do next. And what was the last step? No, not that step. I want the next step. On here, you see it. And so you can just click to the next step. You can tell it to go to the next step, but you can look up and have a visual element to see what's on the screen and what you're supposed to do next. And so these small benefits add up to be major benefits over time when we're talking about smart speakers. Is this going to replace a tablet for you? No way. Is it going to replace a cell phone for you? No, not a chance. But if you like using smart speakers and you like the idea of just being able to talk to stuff, because there are other things you can do here with it too. You can make duo calls, obviously, with the camera. You can make phone calls just like you can over here. So there's all these things you can do with it. If you're bought into saying, hey, I like all the stuff that this can do, the screen literally just makes it all better. There's nothing you lose with a smart display device. It's not like, oh, well, I've got to sacrifice this or this, because the speaker sounds just as good as the standard Google Home. The display looks awesome. This is just an additional thing. So every feature that comes here is just additional to what you get over here. And so if you're looking at smart home things, if you're looking at something to control your lighting, to help you with recipes, to be a second display around the kitchen, to watch some videos, to watch YouTube, to listen to music, to do any of the things that these things do, to only pay about $130. This one starts at $249. There's a smaller model for $199. The standard Google Home's $130, so you're talking 120 bucks more, so twice as much. Is it worth it? Yes, 100%. Even with some of the bugs and some of the weird stuff that's going on with it right now, eventually once this stuff gets ironed out, this thing is worth your money. I love it. I don't want to send it back, and when it comes out, I'm probably going to get one for our house because I just love all the things it can do, and I love the idea of all the things it's going to be able to do over time. I would say 6 months to a year from now, these things will displace the smart speakers in general for most users. Now, is it going to replace these little dudes around your house that are just quick commands? Probably not, because they're cheap and they're easy and they're small and out of the way. But when people are thinking about buying, maybe not the Max because it's for high definition audio, but the regular smart speaker, the regular Google Home, and some of the other competitors that have been made that are like that device, that are in the $100 to $200 range, I think it's going to displace most of them because we're going to see more from other manufacturers, and it is just a fantastic overall user experience. It's only going to get better with time. So if you're watching this going, I'm trying to decide if I want to buy this or a regular speaker. If you're not buying it just for the speaker, like Google Max, $400 type thing, if you're buying it for an assistant that you can have in your house and get a lot of stuff done with, this thing is absolutely worth your money. I've loved spending time with it, and I think you will too. And I think you'll find the benefit once you use it for just a little bit is well worth the little bit extra money it costs over just the standalone speaker. Guys, I hope we've helped you make a purchasing decision here, and I hope this helps out in that decision. If you like this video, guys, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe below, and you're gonna see something new below our videos now as well. We've actually got some merch down here. And so YouTube has started this whole thing where you can create merchandise around your brand, and we've got some Chrome Unbox stuff, and we're gonna keep adding things to that. And we'll make a video standalone about that whenever we get the first little bit of stuff in to show you. But it's down there, and so it's legit if you see it. And when you wanna grab some Chrome Unbox merch, it's down there for you to grab. But guys, until next time, we'll see you.